name's Mary Stasilli. I worked at Fishco as a hostess the whole time from 2006 to 2012. And now I'm in post production. I'm a producer on the editorial side.
Would know.
It's mostly commercials and music videos. It's kind of the advertising commercial section of Post, which is based in Santa Monica. So, yeah, I mean, Taco Bell commercials, Ford, random, I mean, yeah, definitely commercials you would have seen on TV. Well, definitely. I would say certainly the ability to like deal with many different personalities. As a hostess, I was basically dealing with everybody in the restaurant as opposed to just the tables that you're serving that night. And then on top of all those personalities and egos, there's the sort of personalities and egos of the different servers. You know who can take however many tables at once. You know who's going to freak out if you double seat them, that kind of thing. And that definitely is like a helpful skill that I have now to be able to negotiate different personalities and sort of foresee what people are going to be able to deal with and not deal with. There should be like a 6 months where everybody has to like work in a restaurant. It's life skills. They're just basic life skills. In LA, Fishco was like literally everything to me. It was not only like my source of income and where I could go to like eat when I was broke. I mean, Fishco actually literally fed me for like 7 straight years, which was huge. But also just my my whole social life was there. It was my source of entertainment. Anytime any sort of event had to have was like my go-to location to like meet up with anybody, have a party, film something. When I was in film school, it was also like everybody that worked there, it was like my casting pool. A lot of people were trying to write or direct or do whatever, sort of break into the entertainment industry. And it was, I kind of benefited from that sort of like hanging out with the entertainment creatives there and sort of bouncing stuff off them. So it's really like, it was like my life. I mean, I feel really nerdy now because I'm super nostalgic and I always bring up Fishco, especially like when I'm hanging out with my peeps from Fishco. I always want to talk about it. I always gush about how amazing and awesome it was. And I feel like a big nerd doing that. But it turns out I'm not the only one who feels that way. It's really interesting to me. Like before I knew anybody else was thinking this way about Fishco other than me, I would have said, like, if you had said, what's unique about Fishco? I would have been like, well, it was the people that I worked with that made it unique. I wouldn't have necessarily thought there was anything about the place itself or the location itself. I would have thought that it was the people, but obviously the people have shifted in every decade and everybody's had a different experience. So there's clearly something about the place itself, about maybe it is a culture. Maybe it goes all back to Mike and Randy and just sort of the culture they created of not just being a place to work. Like there are other places that you could work and that I've known people that have worked at more corporate places where, like, for instance, you're never allowed to sit at the bar, whether you're there outside of work or not. You were just not allowed to hang at the bar and have fun at that place. And Fishco was the opposite of that. I don't ever remember a night or anybody else even around me feeling like, oh my God, I got to clock out and get out of this place and go home and shower. It was more like, I can't wait to clock out and start. The regulars was such a really fun part of that too. Like for instance, Seymour he lived across the street at the Shores. He's a real surly guy, like would smoke his cigars right outside the door and everybody would complain and have to ask him to move. But he loved the Fishco staff. Like he was in there all the time. He was always like buying us drinks. He was always, chatting with everybody. We had a Christmas party at the Victorian one year and I showed up like early before the party started when they were still setting up. And Seymour Cassell was like there at the bar and I was like, what the fuck are you doing here, Seymour? And he's like, I just wanted to come and see everybody in their like normal, like he just really wanted to be there to see everybody in their like off work stage, like dressed up for a Christmas party, that like sounded so fun to him to like get to see everybody just having fun and not be working and just hanging out. And that was like the sweetest thing I ever saw from him, because he was so, again, he was so surly and kind of salty old guy. But that was a real tender moment from Seymour. All family. I mean, that's the other big thing about Fishco to me, obviously, is that like I had a set of friends from film school, but everyone else I know and love in LA came right out of Fishco.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all still the people. I mean, I don't talk to most of my film school friends as much as I should, but I definitely, on a regular basis, still hang out with my Fishco. Really just felt like safe and comfortable with all the, like, everybody always had my back there. I think I told you in the original sort of interview questions about this one time that everybody like rallied to help me fix my car. I drove this Kia for years until it just wouldn't go anymore, and it always had problems. And there are numerous times at Fishco that I can think of people helping me to fix my car. One time was the time that everybody took up a collection to give me money to fix it. Another time, Andrew Alves let me like put a bunch of money.
I haven't heard
He
that
like
name.
let me use his credit card. He was like, I'll fix your car, I'll put it on my card, I'll let you pay me back. Another time my car got broken into when I first started working there. I didn't know anybody. And this awesome girl, Donnie, like spent a whole weekend driving me around in the valley to like get my glass replaced. There were so many times like that where people just came out of the woodwork to like help me out. And it was like that for everybody, you know? I mean, we really were a big family. And it wasn't just kind of the servers or the hosts or the back of the house. It was all together, you know, it wasn't clicky like that. Okay, well, my best memory from that time was I honestly don't remember if it was my 27th or 28th birthday, but Kaz had just bought a big Ford Falcon, this like vintage bright orange van, and we all got tickets to see the Eagles. There was like 8 of us. We went up to the Hollywood Bowl, and my car was in the shop at the time, and I was like really stressing about it. And when we were partying in the parking lot beforehand, they like presented me with this birthday card that had like $500 in it. And they had just taken up a collection at Fishco, like randomly, you know, through everybody, and said, let's fix Mary's car. And so they did. Like, they allowed me to do that. It was amazing. I mean, I was in tears. It was such an amazing, really like touching thing that they did for me, you know.
You were loved.
I was loved, and I love them. Like, it was one of those times where it was like, God, this is really this is my true family, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I have my like my real biological family, and then I've got my like Fishco family. Those are my two families. There wasn't a lot that really happened that was scary, or I mean, like confrontations with customers. I was all about that and like ready to go as the host, like bring it on. So that stuff never bothered me. I do have some secondhand embarrassing moments. But what I wrote in the questionnaire was the first time that I ever experienced an earthquake in California. And I didn't know, I mean, I had no idea what to do. I still really don't know what to do. They say to duck under things. That just seems like okay, duh. Like, I would have thought of that. There's not like a better thing to do.
Yeah, like
But
that seems like, okay, that's just more stuff they've got to pull off of me.
yeah, I still to this day am like, I don't really know what I would do in an I feel like I'd just be standing in my apartment, like, what do I do? You know?
Yeah.
But the first time it ever happened, I was at Fishco standing at the front, and it was just one of those loud bangs, and it sounded, I thought a truck hit the building because it's right there on Ocean. And actually Nate, his last name I can't remember, but it begins with an E. Tall, lanky
Yeah, no,
Nate.
I remember Nate. Yeah.
He was like, a truck hit the building. Like, he yelled it out loud in the middle of the restaurant. He ran outside. And it turns out it was an earthquake. But the after like tremors just made everything in the whole place shimmer, like all the glass. And I realized there's glass literally everywhere, like especially as the host, in front of me, behind me, on either side, above my head. There's like literal huge glass buoys like hanging above my head. And that was a moment when I was like, well, damn, like if an earthquake really ever strikes and I'm at Fishco, I am a goner. There's nowhere I can go to get away from like being impaled by a shard of glass. So like, I hope an earthquake doesn't strike while I'm at Fishco, or
That
it's
is So true. Those glass buoys. I always thought. Then they would swing sometimes. They would start moving.
That's what
Um,
they were doing that night. And then even those big, the huge glass windows and the doors were kind of a little, and then, I mean, even right down to like the dividers on the top of the booths between the set, there's literally glass
wow.
everywhere, all over. But I really liked being, I never had an interest in serving. I really liked being a host, which was unique to them in general, because people that would come in and host would eventually move up into serving. And I liked it. I mean, it was also fun to just, you know, I basically had a position to just observe everyone all the time, every night. Like we were busy. One time, but I actually looked up this article before we talked, and I'll send it to you. That we had this homeless guy that would come in all the time and steal taffy. Taffy was the big thing at Fishco. I'm sure you remember. Everybody loved saltwater taffy. And we constantly had to keep the bowl full. And there was this homeless guy that would wander in and steal taffy, and we kind of like let it go because he wasn't bothering anybody. But Roddy and all the managers actually just hated, they were just so over this guy coming in. Occasionally he would like wander over to a table and they were just like over him. They wanted nothing to do with him. And this one, and so he had been like pushing it over the course of, there'd been like 2 weeks where he had been like, had to be asked to leave a table one time, and had a couple of little incidences. And so Roddy was like really in the red with this guy. And he came in one night and took a crab leg off of the like display that we had out. So it'd been like sitting out all day, just starts gnawing on this crab leg. And I was like, I just didn't know what to do. I mean, I was horrified that he'd put that thing in his mouth. And Roddy happened to be walking by and like saw him down the aisle and just like beelined down. He tried to grab the crab leg away. And the guy got surly and the guy smacked him with the crab leg.
Oh man.
So Roddy had to like physically like grab him, move him outside. And then he was like, get off the property. And the guy was kind of doing this like hopping from the sidewalk to the street, like, I'm on the property, I'm off the property, I'm on the property, I'm off the property. So I think we just called the cops to like get him out of there. But then the next day, I don't know if it was Mike or Randy's wife, I think one of their wives sent us an article in the Santa Monica Mirror that someone had like written about this incident. He was like, the guy was like held on like $20,000 bail. And the article was talking about like how an employee was assaulted with a crab leg. And there was a line in it of something about like, and then the Santa Monica police netted this seafood pirate, and now he's like held in. And we were hysterical. And I did find that article right before we started talking. So I'll send that to you.
Oh
But
yeah, please send
that
that
was
to
one
me.
of the things that like I had the benefit of just as the hostess being able to stand there and just watch it, because I didn't have any other tables to worry about. I totally did not miss that moment. Right, furiously and making all these baskets, and I grabbed the last loaf and I got it and I make all the baskets, and then I turn around and there's like 20 more loaves in the warmer. Just my fish mare is a never ending bread warmer with loaves that need to be cut and put into baskets. I worked there, and this is not even an exaggeration. I used to have a bruise on my hip, a constant bruise that never went away, because I always took the corner rounding the bread station. I always cut that corner too close. And I don't have good depth perception of my own hips. And I would clip my hip on that marble corner. And like the entire time I worked there, I just had this like little bruise on the side of my hip. Like I said, one thing of dealing with different people and personalities. I mean, that was one thing I really liked about the job, was constant, whether they were jerks or really awesome people, you're constantly interacting with people. And I think I did learn a lot on how to communicate with people in general, but also how to keep it together under pressure. Like I said earlier, I was very much like all about the confrontation. Like if someone was the host stand giving someone a problem, it was like, get me in there and I'll like talk to them in my way or whatever. But there was a lot of also having to curb that, like not, like wanting to say shit that I probably shouldn't have been saying, and wanting to sort of, let loose on a customer who deserved it, but that's probably not what I should do. And so I definitely learned, and it's helping me now in my career in the same way, like to basically, when to not fight the fight. I found out on Facebook. And I was devastated. I made like a little mini Fishco obituary that I posted to Facebook. It was just so sad to know that. But interestingly, yeah, there are a lot of stories. It's funny. There's a lot of people I knew too who got fired for various infractions that were like being literally drunk at your table, like things that you probably shouldn't ever be hired back for. Always hired back. That was another thing I loved about Fishco. Everybody always had second, third, fourth, fifth chances. Like, there was almost nothing you could do that would get you fired forever. Just some things that would make you have to take a little break. There is one song that I do remember. Well, two songs, I guess, that I remember specifically.
More the better.
When LCD Sound System came out with Dance Yourself Clean, I have a very vivid memory of like me, Kaz, James, this hostess Erica. We were all sitting in my car in the Fishco parking lot, just like literally doing that. I'm probably smoking weed, but also just like listening to the song, like totally just loving and feeling music. When it dropped, it just was a really fun night. And then I also remember we would get to control the stereo. Unless someone complained, you could pretty much put on whatever you wanted. So sometimes we would like put on the Dead, and then it would get to like, it'd be like going to space, and you'd be like, we're gonna have to change this before someone complains about it, But we also used to put on just classic rock a lot, and the Soft Parade by the Doors would come on every once in a while. And anytime Tom Fagetti was working and the Soft Parade came on, like we had a Doors connection, and he like would turn into Jim Morrison a little bit. Like he'd be like strutting around the restaurant, like Lizard King style. But I remember but I do work at Cabin Editorial. So if anybody has any advertising, commercial, editorial needs, we were just voted the best editing company, best post house in the industry this year at AICP. So
congratulations. That's
pretty
amazing.
cool. Pretty
Very cool. All right, Mary. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thanks again.
You too. So fun, Jeremiah.
Hopefully we can share a story or two someday.
Oh, can't wait.
Okay. Bye.
Talk soon. Bye.